You want me to start?
Yeah, thanks.
Okay. All right, sure. Well, hello everybody, and I'm sorry this Zoom is not working. I don't know what is wrong with it, but anywho, I am Kevin Naff. I am the editor and one of the owners of the Washington Blade and Los Angeles Blade. The Washington Blade is the nation's first oldest LGBTQ news outlet, founded in 1969. We cover social justice issues and general issues of concern to the LGBTQ community locally and nationally and internationally. I graduated from Penn State in 1992. I worked at the Collegian all 4 years. My last year, I was the opinion page editor, which was the best job ever. And I served 3 years on the board of the Collegian's AIG. I am gonna talk quickly because some of this stuff I think I've talked about before, but I want to just kind of hit on three. Oh wait, I think
You
it's
might
letting
be
me in.
connecting. You might be connecting to the Zoom.
It's trying. Shoot. Let me see. I can see RJ. Uh, all right. Well, I'll keep talking. Maybe this will come to life. All right. So let me just be efficient here and please save questions. Happy to answer anything I can. But the topic tonight was new revenue streams. And so I have three that I want to hit on. One is grants. Another one is subscriptions and donations. And then the final one is events. And I have talked about each of these during my time on the AIG board, the different degrees with different people. But I want to just kind of recap, and there is some breaking news on the grant front that I want to talk about. So those are the three areas that I recommend where I really think the Collegian has opportunity to make some money and quickly, and potentially lots of it. So let's start with the most lucrative of the three, which is grants. So we've all heard about grants, and Amy is really on top of this and is part of Local Media Association now. I met with her in Chicago at the conference, and she was presenting on behalf of the Collegian. So I know you guys are already engaged on this front. There's a lot of opportunity now more than ever in the grant world for journalism. That said, it also, because it's gotten so popular, it also means there's a lot more competition than there used to be. So your applications really have to be really laser focused, and you really have to make sure you are speaking to the requirements of the specific grant. So I've been writing grants for journalism since 2016. I started with the Arcus Foundation, which is a huge funder, and they funded a 3-year project around reporting on queer issues in immigration. So in the 2016 election, when Trump was running the first time and he was making such a big thing about immigration, there was a lot of concern in the LGBTQ community about the plight of queer migrants. So we won a big grant from Arcus to basically report on this. We had reporters embedded with caravans of queer migrants who were headed for the border in Mexico. We found a lesbian-run migrant shelter and reported from there. So that's how I got started, and then from there it's just evolved very quickly and become much more sophisticated now. So there are all sorts of grants out there. There are general ops grants, which are the best ones because you can use them literally for anything. There are municipal grants from city government, state government. We've gotten a bunch of grant money in DC, for example, around funding fellowships for reporters on various topics. There are arts grants. We have a huge grant pending that we've applied for from the city to do some arts related events. So they're also corporate grants. So most big companies have a nonprofit arm that gives grants. So if I were you, I would research like who are the biggest employers in the state of Pennsylvania, who are the biggest companies, and then look to see if they have nonprofit arms. And most of them will, and most of those will issue grants. So that's a good place to look close to home. But here's the first thing, the first step that I think you all should take, and it's the same thing that we did at the Blade, and that is to do a reader survey. So a lot of us in journalism, we think we know our communities, we think we know best, and the truth is, our readers, we need to talk to our readers, and we need to find out what's important to them, because what we think is important and what they think is important could be very different things. So first step is, I recommend you guys do a reader survey. Doesn't have to be, super involved or complicated, but just something very simple to find out from people, what are you doing well? What needs improvement? What topics are important to your readership? That's where you should start. And any funder is going to ask you, have you done this? Have you spoken to your readership? Have you surveyed your community? So getting that done right away is, I think, really important. So once you have that information, you may find some surprises. So we did this not long ago in Washington with the Blade, and we discovered that an issue that was really important to our readers was fentanyl, and that there had been a string of young gay men who had died from overdoses. They had taken, what were fairly harmless party drugs like ecstasy, but they had been laced with fentanyl. So the community is very worried about this. Anybody that's doing any kind of, casual like party drug is now literally playing Russian roulette, because these drugs are being laced with fatal doses of things. So we took that information, and we've been working with LMA on a presentation to do a grant that would fund kind of an in-depth project around fentanyl, specifically in the gay bar and club scene. And this is a good thing to remember. There are two big buzzwords right now from funders that they are looking for. One is collaboration. So they don't want to just write you a check. They want to see that you are working with other community organizations, other nonprofits in your area on a project together, and they want to fund things jointly. So in our case, with the fentanyl project, we're going to partner with a community health center that has expertise in this area, and the funding will go to support not just our journalism, but also will go to fund training programs where this community center will go into the bars and train bartenders on how to use Narcan and how to distribute test strips so customers can test their drugs before they consume them to make sure they're not laced with something. So finding a community partner to bring into your project is really smart. And the other big thing, and the other big buzzword, is sustainability. So these funders, they don't want to just keep writing a check to you year after year after year for the same thing. They want to see that you have taken that money and invested it, and you've found a way for it to pay for itself. So they will fund a project for 1 year, 2 years, up to 3 years, but they most likely will never fund you after 3 years. So you have to approach your application with some plan for how you're going to monetize this after a short period of time of a couple of years. So collaboration and sustainability, those are the two things I will leave you with. Now, our timing tonight is really good because Press Forward, I know Amy knows about Press Forward. I don't know if the rest of you know Press Forward, but Press Forward is a national coalition of funders that is investing more than $500 million to boost local newsrooms. The first round of funding is already done, And the second round literally just opened this week, and the deadline for applications is January 15th. So write that down, press forward, January 15th. You guys are eligible, and you absolutely must apply. So again, I would start with your reader survey. From your reader survey, I would come up with a project. I know Amy pitched a project around Title IX. I told you about my fentanyl project, and there are many others. So start with that reader survey and come up with a project that you can loop in another community partner with, and then go on the Press Forward website. Their applications are pretty straightforward, and the deadline again is January the 15th. The Blade, we did not win the first round. We applied and we made it to the finals, and we did not make the final cut, but we did learn a lot in the process. So one of the projects that a friend of mine won for his publication was a digital revenue czar. So he proposed that they fund a full-time staff position for someone dedicated to monetizing all of their digital products. So, the website, not just advertising, but social media, how to monetize their lists, their emails, their newsletters. And they went for that, and they funded it for 3 years. So, so that's an idea that you could perhaps steal. I don't know. I believe all of the Press Forward grantees have to be nonprofits, which you all are, but there might be other student nonprofits that you could partner with in the region and go in together and pitch a digital revenue czar and get that funded for 3 years, and maybe that becomes a new full-time staffer at the Collegian. That's one idea, one example, but I just wanted to give you that as something to think about, but definitely start with your reader survey. So the grant size for this round is higher. It's $500,000 to $1.5 million over 3 years, and the projects have to address one of 4 areas. So they're interested in audience. So how can newsrooms attract new audiences? Secondly is operations. How can newsrooms share staff or use tools and technology to become more efficient? Third is people. So how can working in the field become more attractive, more diverse, more sustainable? And finally, revenue. So how can local news outlets generate more revenue from a wider range of sources? So that's where the digital revenues czar idea comes in, for example. But all of this is on their website. So I strongly encourage you to check that out. And again, January 15th will be here quickly. So Press Forward, collaboration, sustainability, those are the things to remember. I also just strongly recommend that the Collegian remain involved with the local media association. It's been a really terrific tool for us. They have many collaboratives that they run so that you can join. So we are the founding members of the News is Out, which is a collaboration of 7 LGBTQ media outlets around the country. And LMA helps us go after grant money that we split. So we've pitched and won all sorts of grants from, AARP to the Knight Foundation and so forth. So there is a Pennsylvania Media Consortium, and I think the Collegian may already be involved with that. But that's a really great place to make sure you're staying involved. And Amy knows the details on that, so make sure that she passes that along to the next class. But Local Media Association has multiple collaboratives, and the Collegian is eligible to participate in those, and I strongly recommend that you do that. There's another tool, and I will send it out. Robin, I'll send this to you. It's called Foundation Maps, and it's a subscription site, so you'd have to pay something to get into it, unfortunately. But it is a fascinating tool. They have literally collected data on every grant that is available and every grantee that's been awarded and how much. And, you know, you can search it by all sorts of filters and criteria. You could search it by college media, Pennsylvania. You know, you could really get granular with it, but you could kind of spy on other people to see what, you know, what have other people in Pennsylvania, other newsrooms in Pennsylvania gotten grants for, and what has worked and what hasn't worked. It's a really good tool, and I will send the link to Robin after the call for that.
Thank you, Kevin.
So, yeah. Uh-oh. Can you hear me?
You're good. You're good. That's
Yep.
you're fine. I panicked too.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, that'd be great. Do you know how expensive it is to join? Because it might be something the Collegian AIG pays for the Collegian to use.
I don't know offhand, but
Okay.
but yeah, it would be a good
Send me the link.
investment.
Perfect.
Yeah.
And I will. Yep.
Okay. So that is my really high level quickie run through on grants. The second area I wanted to hit on was email newsletters and donations. So the new thinking on this is that you can't have too many newsletters, and I think the Collegian has two. Is that right? There's a news one and a football one, I think. And basically, the message here is don't be afraid to email your readers more frequently. Where everyone is used to getting a million emails, they'll just delete it if they don't want it. But maybe they do want it, and maybe they don't know they want it. So I would encourage you to really diversify your email newsletter products. The football one is great, but there are others. You know, you could have a weekend events newsletter. There could be a dining newsletter. There could be all kinds of separate newsletters that you have. And it's really important. I don't know what the subscription list, is right now, but you have nothing but opportunity and upside. There are, I don't know, Robin, 1 million plus Penn State alumni out there. I mean, there's a huge audience of people outside of campus and alumni that would be interested in the Collegian newsletter. So one thing that we've implemented that's been really successful, and I don't know if you're using WordPress or what, but you should be able to implement this pretty easily. It's a paywall-like requirement. So, but it's not a paywall, but it's instead of paying money, you require people to enter their email address in order to continue reading a story. So they get like 15 seconds to start reading, and then a pop-up appears and it says, this is not a paywall, but to continue reading, please give us your email address and subscribe to our email newsletter. And you can kind of force people to give up their emails that way. It's pretty easy to implement, and it'll drive your subscriptions pretty fast. So focusing on that, growing your email newsletter subscriber base will pay dividends. You want to use that new list to aggressively ask for support. Don't just wait for annual giving day, fundraisers. Ask anytime. There's a website called newsmatch.com, and they work with nonprofits. What they'll do is they will help find a funder that will match donations. So, you could say, for the first $10,000 that we raise, this week, we have a funder that will match that. So your money is doubled. So I'll put that in the email to Robin as well, newsmatch.com. So that's a really good way to drive your subscriptions and donations. So I would encourage you to really focus on growing your subscriber base and hitting them up regularly. Find excuses, a couple of times a month to hit them up for donations. And you'd be surprised. And that's an area where the AIG can really help. I'm sure Robin and everyone at the AIG would be on board with getting that message out. So
And we are
definitely.
running I think an ad in this upcoming edition that either, I guess it was Zach who said he would have it ready. We'll run that ad in our newsletter to get people to sign up for the Collegian newsletter. You know, the Alumni Association is a little tricky on, you can't solicit. There are certain rules on solicitation, but yes, we will do everything we can. And we are running the ad in the upcoming November newsletter and probably beyond that.
Great. Okay, so that is subscriptions and donations. And the last thing is events. And, you know, what's really good about events is that in addition to just being a great way to connect with your community and to be out, you know, in meeting your readers face to face, a lot of sponsors and funders really want to see an event component to their giving. So to get started, I would come up with a couple of signature events that the Collegian can put together. The best one that I recommend, and it's been a big hit for us for many years, it's something that a lot of city magazines do, but it's a best of issue. So best of State College, you know, and you just have it's all online voting. You have all your categories, you know, best pizza, best coffee, best whatever. We do about 75 categories in ours every year. Create that, have your readership vote on it, and then all of the people that are nominated, they'll take an ad. All the winners will take ads congratulating themselves. So it's a great ad driver. It's great just community, you know, interest and promotion. You have little awards for all the winners, and they put them up in their windows. So it's good, you know, exposure for the Collegian brand. It's feel good all around. And of course you can get sponsors for that. And funders also love opportunities to get in front of crowds of young people. So kind of a no-brainer. I would definitely recommend that you all do a Best of State College special issue. I've done it a million times. I could do it in my sleep. If you have any questions, happy to walk you through how that all works. But there are other sorts of events that you all certainly could do something around. Football, Parents Weekend is a huge deal on campus. You could partner with other groups, like you could co-host a Pride event with the Center for Gender and Sexual Diversity, all kinds of things, I think. So events is my third recommendation of a new revenue stream. And there's got to be I'm assuming an events marketing major at Penn State. You could probably recruit some marketing students to run it for you. So those are the three things. Now, given my experience at the Collegian and my experience with the AIG, there is one challenge that I have seen occur over and over again that I think you should address with any one of these projects that you take on, and that is turnover. So turnover, you know, because you all are graduating every year, someone who's really enthusiastic about something today could graduate in May, and then the project dies with them. So I think as you start to take on some of these projects, make sure you've got, you know, a junior, a sophomore, a freshman who is involved and invested in whatever the project is, so that it outlasts the seniors who are maybe spearheading it. But I've seen this several times, you know, in the AIG, where we get something going and we have somebody really excited, and then they graduate and like the whole thing falls flat. So just be aware of that as you approach these things, particularly with the grant space, because, you know, there is a reporting requirement that will have to be fulfilled with any grants that you get. So, you know, if you get a grant for a calendar year and a quarter of the staff graduates in May, and your grant report is due in August, you know, you got to make sure that there's someone who is up on it and can take the reins. So other than that, I think you all are really well positioned as a nonprofit to take advantage of a lot of these opportunities. there is so much money out there right now in philanthropy for media, and I think it's just a matter of time before you all crack the code and you can really bring in a lot of new revenue for the Collegian. That's what I have to say. Again, I am happy if somebody is writing a grant or has an idea for a grant, I'm very happy to talk offline about that. If anybody wants to talk about how to start one of these events, whatever, I'm happy to talk to them too. Just hit me up. Robin knows how to find me. And if anybody has any questions, I'm happy to take those.
Kevin, you're great as always. So I'm going to open it. I hope that some of the students have questions. Sam, you look like you're ready to jump.
Yeah. Yeah, I have a question about the newsletters. So I'm the managing editor of the Collegian, and so like part of my responsibility is the newsletters as far as like editing them and like organizing them and all that. So I just wanted to ask about as far as if we were to make a new newsletter, how would you recommend pushing that out to people since obviously it would start at like 0 subscribers? So how would you recommend pushing like a brand new newsletter?
I would push it out to all your existing subscribers and give them an opt-out.
Okay, like you mean kind of like put their like emails into it already and then like they can opt out of it? Okay.
Right. I would just say, hey, here's our latest product, here it is, and at the bottom, click here to unsubscribe. But that's what I would do. I wouldn't start over.
Gotcha. And then for you talked about like sending out emails kind of asking for donations and things like that. Like how would you recommend putting that together? Like would it just be like an email asking for donations, or would it be like would it have content in it as well and also ask for donations, if that makes sense?
So it's best, we've had most success with this when there's been some kind of a peg. So like we did it, 2 weeks ago when after the election, right away it was like, okay, our community is very concerned about this outcome, and we're the only LGBT outlet that's in the White House. So support our work, support our important work. So whenever you can find some kind of a timely peg like that, like there's a sense of urgency, that's great. Like when you guys win awards every year. So when you win an award, I would immediately do a blast. Hey, the Collegian just won all these awards. Please support our award-winning important work. Click here to donate.
Okay. Yeah.
So look for timely pegs like that you can hang a solicitation on.
Yeah. So kind of like frame it around like different events happening.
Yeah.
Gotcha.
Or if you do a really good investigative piece that exposes some corruption or get some attention. There's always Penn State's always in the national news for something. Put it out there and say, hey, look at this great report. Did you read this great report we broke? Support our work. Click here. So I would always be, and I wouldn't limit yourself. Like it's not a quarterly thing or a monthly thing. I would do it every week if you have a peg. Do it as often as you can.
Right. Gotcha. Thank you.
Sure. Anybody else? Well,
any other questions? No? I like the idea, Kevin, of doing a best of list because on top of all of the reasons that you listed, I feel like readers love lists. I feel like every time there's a magazine with a list or, people just love to look at them and argue about them. And, I think that's a great idea.
And I agree.
I mean, there are only...
Yeah, it's good for alumni too who are coming back and want to see if there's a better pizza place than what they remember.
Right. Yeah.
Sam, how feasible? Go ahead, Kevin. I'm sorry.
No, go ahead.
Oh, I was just going to ask. I was just going to ask, how feasible is it to do the survey? I mean, that seems really important to do. Are you guys looking at that?
Like you mean for the best of edition?
No, just the reader
Or
survey. What can we do? What are we doing really well? What can we do better? What topics would you like to see more of?
oh
Is that
yeah,
sort
no,
of,
we can definitely like push that out.
Yeah.
Yeah. Mhm.
because I don't think it has to be anything too lengthy.
Yeah, no, I mean, we can definitely do that. I know we've like kind of talked about it a little bit, but like I don't think it would take too much to put that into place.
Good.
Great. Yeah, that's where I would start. And then, while you're waiting for those responses to come in, get on the Press Forward website and start poking around and kind of thinking about, who internally can spearhead writing the grant. And again, I'm happy to assist if I can, or proof the grant for you or whatever. But start digging into it. They're not, the application isn't terribly complex, but it does take some thought. And again, with the holidays coming up, January 15th will get here very quickly. And you've got finals and everything else to deal with. So the sooner you kind of dive into that, the better.
Kevin, will it be important that they reveal how many people they ended up surveying? Like we heard from 100, a survey of 100 readers or a survey of 1,000 readers. Does that matter? Do they ask?
No, I don't think that matters. I think they will want to know that you've done it, and I think if you can say yes, you're coming from a stronger position than if you haven't done it. But I've never been asked how many responses did we get.
That's good. That takes pressure off trying to hit a certain number.
Yeah.
Any other questions, anyone? All right. Well, thank you all for participating, and thank you, of course, Kevin, for taking the time to share your expertise. I think, I think it's going to be valuable for the folks on the call, and also anyone who can watch the recording when I share it with them. Sam and Emily, I will send the recording to Zach and Amy to share widely with the staff once I have it loaded up to YouTube, probably tomorrow morning.
Okay, sounds good.
Yeah. Thank you so much, Kevin. This was really good and very concise and just full of great info. So hopefully we will have some results to report next time. Thank you again.
I hope so. Good luck. Thanks for having me. Always here if I can help. And Sam and everybody at the Collegian, Amy, like I said, as you get into that Press Forward grant application, if you have questions, don't hesitate to reach out. And good luck.
Take care. Thank you. Thank
So,
you again,
thank you.
Kevin. Thanks, everybody.
Bye-bye.
See ya.
I know.